You can't teach an old dad new tricks. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob, I'm the Cowhat Librarian, and I'm here to talk about How to Train Your Dad by Gary Paulsen. And while it's not important to the content of the book itself, the cover is done by the very talented Dan Santat, and I absolutely love his illustration style. And in fact, it was his cover art that made me pull this book off the shelf. I thoroughly enjoy his artistic style, and I particularly enjoyed it as part of a silly poetry book for kids I recommended at a conference a few years back. And yeah, that's what drew me to this book. Gary Paulsen is, of course, well known for his Hatchet books and the various follow-ups to them. And this one was quite a departure from Hatchet for obvious reasons. So, Carl is 13 years old and he lives with his dad. And his dad loves him, and that's plain enough, but his dad has some odd views about the world. His dad is a very frugal man. He believes in trading labor for things rather than accepting money as an intermediary thing. So his dad might offer to reshingle a roof for someone in exchange for some parts for his truck, an ancient truck that he barely keeps on the road. When his son wants a bicycle, his dad will head to the nearby junkyard that their neighbor operates, find the most brilliant parts that work impeccably, assemble them into a one-of-a-kind creation that looks ugly as all sin and is a recumbent bicycle, making it not so great for Carl, who is more concerned with his look-at-ability for the girl he has a crush on, and for being able to ride to school and look cool, something that's fairly difficult on a recumbent bike, and to be able to make it to school in one piece. His school's at the top of a hill, and from his own experience, recumbent bikes are pretty difficult to pedal uphill. Anyway, Carl lives with his dad, and he's grown used to the various ways his father looks at the world, but it's hard. It is hard when you have a dad who insists on repairing everything. It's hard when you have a dad who is obsessed with fuel systems for various vehicles, which generally results in major problems. At one point in the book, his dad obtains a Harley for doing some work for some people that needs a little work, and he tinkers with the fuel system and overpowers it, and it results in a crashed and toast Harley. It's even more difficult when his dad believes that overalls are the most practical and stylish clothes in the world, and if he can get a deal on them for Carl, so much the better. So Carl ends up with multiple pairs of pink overalls, some of which have saucy slogans on the rear end. So with that background and the fact that Carl's father dumpster dives as a way to find food that's perfectly okay but has blemishes and bruises and so on, and who scrounges junkyards and who trades labor for things instead of working for money to buy them, you might understand that Carl has had enough. And so he gets some inspiration from an unlikely source. In one of the dog food packs that he and his father scrounge to feed their dog, he sees a small pamphlet about training your dog. And he decides that this is how he will reform his dad, by training him the same way he would a puppy, with both positive reinforcement when he does something good and negative reinforcement and ignoring him when he's doing something he shouldn't be. And so when his father does something good, Carl is quick to suggest that they go for ice cream at Dairy Queen, one of his father's favorite treats. When his father is driving past the same yard sale 15 times, homing in on something that Carl is certain he does not want, he ignores his dad and refuses to acknowledge him. And so it becomes a question of what will give in first. Carl's dad's love for a bargain and living sustainably, were Carl's willingness to apply these training methods. It was a lot of fun. I liked the idea of the kid training the parent to do something. That topic's been brought up in a few other books, of course. And even though the adults reading this book might see Carl's dad as having a few good ideas regarding sustainability and reusability and not giving in to fast fashion and disposable items, I think we can all agree that trying to live that lifestyle 24/7, particularly as an image-conscious teenager, would be really, really difficult. Even though Carl's method of dealing with things, trying to reform his dad by providing dog training for him, isn't very nice, I sympathized with the character. I found him very believable, and I wanted things to work out for him and his dad. It's clear he has a lot of affection for his dad and vice versa, and there were no real villains in this book. It was just not having compatible lifestyles and wants and needs. So I enjoyed it, and I recommend it. And if you want some ideas about how people could conceivably live more sustainable lifestyles, this might be a book to look at both the pros and the cons of it. If you enjoy stories about just parents and children and overcoming communication issues with each other, this might also be your cup of tea. I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend it to people who enjoyed Hatchet and the follow-up books. I don't know that I would recommend they continue on to this one, but people who've read, honestly, the one that surprised me the most, I might recommend this book to fans of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The specifics aren't the same. Carl is in a very, very different living situation from Greg, of course, and their families are very different, but the general premise of I live a particular way and my parents live in a way that's sort of alien to me and off-putting to me, and I need to find ways to convince them to do what I like, that sentiment comes across. If you read some of Paula Danzinger's works from back in the day featuring Matthew and his health-obsessed mother, it felt very similar to that relationship as well. Now, with all that said, there are spoilers ahead because I have to talk about the deal breaker. So as things progress, Carl tries more and more things to get his dad to change his ways. And ironically, the thing that Carl never really tries is just talking to his dad. At some point in this whole mess, you would think that Carl would eventually say, "Hey Dad, can we just go buy me some normal jeans because I want to look cool at school and I don't want to wear pink overalls? Hey Dad, do you suppose I could get a part-time job so I could buy myself a bike like the other kids have?" These are conversations that I feel would have come up that didn't come up in this book. And the other thing is, the ending was really, really, really lackluster in my opinion. Carl finally gets through to his dad in his very, very, very roundabout way, and his dad starts accepting some money for his work, and he does buy some things for Carl, and he indicates to Carl that he finally realized this and that he loves his son. He wants him to have some things that he wants. But in the course of things, Carl and his dad are filmed dumpster diving, and they appear on TV. And Carl is sure that this is it. He's not going to be at the top of anyone's lookability rating anymore. And as it turns out, the girl he has a crush on actually likes Carl's father's ideas about living a sustainable life and reusing things and not wasting things. And so she's interested in Carl because of all that stuff. The minute that he's sort of had things resolved with his dad and isn't forced to participate quite as wholeheartedly in that lifestyle, it fell a little flat because I think Paulsen was trying for a bit of irony there. The minute Carl got what he wanted, it made him less desirable to the girl he had a crush on, but it felt like something was falling into his lap, but not because he earned it in any way, shape, or form. it felt a little odd. And even for people who are very, very concerned with sustainability and want to live lives that avoid empty commerce and materialism, and those are laudable goals, certainly. I think for an awful lot of people, there would still be a line between those being great goals and admiring someone's family who has a teenage son in pink overalls digging through a dumpster. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was my first thought, that this seemed a little convenient, a little odd. As I said, I think he was going for an ironic ending, and it didn't quite land for me the way that I think Paulsen was trying for. Still, I definitely recommend it. The next time you're at your public library, please give it a try. With that, thank you for listening to me talk all about his book. If you like this video, please like, please subscribe, and please check back to see what else I'm talking about from the Cowhat Library. Thank you. Bye now.